What is the number one success tip of public speaking? In this video, we're going to hear from some incredible speakers who are going to be sharing their success traits, tips, techniques, and strategies to be an effective speaker on stage. Now, I've been speaking for over 25 years, but you know what? I don't know it all, and I'm excited to see what can I learn from some amazing speakers. You're going to be taking the stage today in this room. What's your biggest or most important tip for public speaking?
So always focus on one person. So a lot of the time in public speaking, people come into a room and they see in that all these people and it's overwhelm, massive overwhelm. But I'll focus on one person that gives me laser contact with their eyes. And that one person is that person there. And then what I'll do, after a little while, I'll try and find another person. And then I've got two places to go to. And when I've got two places to go to, okay, that's who I'm talking to. And so for me, then that makes it me having a conversation with somebody rather than me, trying to talk to a big group of people that, I don't know who they are and they might be better than me, they might be more than me, they might think I'm a dick, all that kind of stuff, which is a lot of the thoughts people have.
I want to know who taught you that, because someone taught me that many, many years ago, and that is one of the, I think, most powerful tips. Because if you're having a good conversation with one person, you might find that other people want to listen. Who taught you that, or did you just work it out yourself?
No, I used to do sales meetings in my office in a serviced office for me and 4 people. And even with 4 people in a meeting, there was one person I knew that was hanging on to my every word. And so that's who the conversation was with. And then when it went from 4 to 6 to 8 to 10, it was just a number rather than it being more people. And when I'm in a room like this, again, I don't see 750 people, I don't see 1,000 people, I see 1, 2, 3, 4 people.
Wow. What's your biggest tip to anyone in terms of public speaking?
Just talk about the stuff that you know about. Most people are afraid of public speaking, and actually on stage like this, where there are more than 1,000 people in the room, it's actually easier because nobody in the audience is going to stand up and say, hey, that doesn't make sense. Nobody does that because they're afraid. So you can actually talk about anything you want, and people just be nodding like, oh, that sounds good, that sounds good. So it's actually easier to be on a big stage than on a small group where there are 5 people. Because in 5 people will stand up and ask you questions. In a big stage like this, nobody would.
When you do speak, what would you say is the most important thing to know or do?
Be yourself. Be yourself.
What does that mean?
It means don't have a script. It means just tell your story. Because normally when you speak at an event, normally they want to know who you are. You tell a little bit of your story. So you be yourself and just tell them from, your own experience. And that's what people love, when you be yourself. That's the most important thing. So
you're just about to take the stage.
Yeah.
I'd love to know, what's your kind of biggest tip in terms of being a public speaker?
Know what you're talking about. And if you want to be a public speaker, then I think it's really important that you like being on stage. There's other ways of getting your message across if you don't like being on stage. Because if you like being on stage, then all that energy is going to flow through you.
That's a good question. I think one of the things that people do quite often is they'll think that they have to be entertaining and come out and have like a persona that is a speaker and all of a sudden be that person. And it's always going to be you plus a little bit more, so it's kind of you with a bit more energy than usual, because you can't just be a natural, I can't be my natural self on stage. I need to perform and deliver, but it's not being someone different, it's being me and a bit more, so to speak. That sets you off in the right tone, and I think that anyone who is looking to speak, it's the way that I find it, the easiest way to do it is to have frameworks, have strategies, have things you can share with people that have been thought about, put together and could be well articulated. So it's a model or a system or a framework that you can give to someone, because then stories hang off the back of that, and you can bring people along the journey.
I've been speaking on stages for a very, very long time, and I can tell you one thing that doesn't work is trying to be someone that you're not, where you're kind of strutting your stuff like, look at me. What's really important is authenticity. I almost struggle to say that word. And what we've been hearing from speaking to some of these people who are taking the stage is, don't try and be anything that you're not. Be yourself and know what it is. Be an expert in your field, and that's what it is that you've got to share. Let's go and speak to a few more speakers and see what we can learn from them. When you speak on stage, what's one bit of advice you would give to people who perhaps have a product or a service that they want to share with the world?
Be enthusiastic, because when you're enthusiastic, it transfers to other people. And someone once said that sales happen when your enthusiasm for a product or service transfers to the other person and they share that enthusiasm with you. So I would say always be enthusiastic, enjoy what you do. People love it when they see people enjoying what they do, and if they like what you do, they'll become a client or a customer of yours.
We are also making a film about public speaking. Now, you're speaking at this event tomorrow. What's your tip about being a good speaker?
I don't know whether this is a good thing or a bad thing. I always try and get the audience on side within the first 10 seconds.
How do you do that?
So I always ask the same question: hands up all the happy people, hands up all the miserable people. It always gets a reaction. It always gets a laugh. It doesn't matter whether it's in corporate environments. I've done it when I used to be a singer. I've done it in front of 2,000 people at corporate, hotel gigs, and I've done it in small rooms as well. But yeah, get people on your.
So say that again. So what do? You go on stage.
I go on stage and I'll say like good afternoon EMC or whatever, and I'll make them say it a couple of times and make everyone know that it's all right to have a laugh. And I'll say hands up all the happy people in this audience, and everyone's half the room will be like yeah. And I'll go hands up all the miserable people in this audience, and I'll be like okay, I just want to know who to look at and who to avoid for this chat. That's it. Then you've got them. Then they're on side.
That is a top tip. Thank you. What's your kind of top tip for people speaking in public?
Be authentic. Straight off the back, be authentic.
What does that mean, be authentic?
Okay, so I speak a language called Essex/English.
Yeah.
And I could go and portray that I'm someone I'm not. It's about connecting to an audience, connecting to someone you're speaking to. And I think if you lead with the truth, authenticity, then you can't get it wrong. You will detract the people that don't want to be around you, but the positive is you'll attract people that are buying into who you really are. So go for it, be authentic, and yeah, live the truth, and don't shy away from flaws that you have. I think flaws are things that identify you as a human being, and actually is something that will attract people to you and make people feel comfortable, because please understand, no one's perfect. That's from me.
Thank you so much. Do you have like a strategy around, is there something you always think about in terms of delivering powerful, I mean, I've seen you present before. Is there something that you always do?
Honestly, no, because I'm used to teaching online, and we do a lot of that. So when I speak on a stage like this, it's very similar content, which I'm very comfortable with, very used to. I know the stuff that lands with an audience and that is valuable and that helps them. So it very much translates from online to here, offline.
So it's just know your shit, basically.
Pretty much.
When you speak, do you have a particular kind of thing in your head that you're always trying to remember to do that allows you?
It's been a while now since I've been speaking, so not so much anymore. I think I just go in, like, and my team's big on this too, is just like an act of service. Like, I just understand that, like, I am here to serve. And I think if you remember that, everything else comes natural, right? And always trying to be myself.
Thank you.
I am who the fuck I am at all times, so yeah.
Thank you. What's your strategy around when you talk? Do you have a specific goal in mind, or any like techniques that you apply to giving great presentations?
Absolutely. Number one, be prepared. I've got a great deck. Number two, make sure I'm telling stories. People don't want to hear just facts and figures. They do, but also stories are a great way to present those. And number three, don't take it too seriously. Previously in my career, when I've done public speaking, I've built this whole massive image and outcome that I need from the actual event itself. But for once, and especially after Dragon's Den, all the public appearances I've done, there's no pressure anymore. It's just all about connecting with people, giving value, and enjoying it myself, selfishly. If I'm having fun, generally people will have fun.
What's your number one tip in terms of being a good public speaker?
Oh gosh. Start today, perfect, and get perfect tomorrow. Because the first time I spoke on stage, I was introduced. The guy said, right, ladies and gentlemen, go easy on this next speaker. He is a virgin at this stuff. And at that stage, I just wanted to run for the hills. But the biggest tip is you will never improve at anything unless you keep doing it. The thing that you are afraid to do is exactly the thing that you need to do to move forward. I was afraid of speaking. I kept doing it and doing it and doing it, and that's how I eventually learned to get better. Repetition is the mother of all learning. So repeat, repeat, repeat.
Can you just put your hands out for me like this? Because I want to show you something, guys. That is a mic. What's your kind of strategy in terms of when you're speaking to a large group of people? Do you have like a tip around when you're speaking to people? Is there something you do?
You mean from a public speaking perspective? One of the things that I used to be nervous standing in front of a big audience, And then I had this realization that everyone only has 2 ears and 2 eyes, and they're sitting there experiencing me as one person. And my experience on the stage is 500 people. Their experience is actually one-to-one. So they're having a one-to-one experience. I'm having a 1 to 500 experience. As soon as I realized that actually from their perspective I'm having a one-to-one experience, then it made me change the way that I relate, which is I try and relate as much as possible in exactly the same way as if we were sitting down having a coffee and we just have a one-to-one experience. It just happens to be I'm having a one-to-one experience with more than one person at a time. So for me, it was that little moment of realization that the only person who's having a group experience is me on the stage. They're connecting one-to-one.
So learning how to speak in public is something that so many people want to do, but one of the biggest things that holds people back is fear. If you want to conquer your fear, you'd be amazed at what you can do.